So, new things. Yeah. So, you might not be able to tell from this, but I am using the Canon T3i as a gimbal, with a gimbal rather. So I'm now using the gimballed crane, which is a pretty impressive piece of kit. So I've got a full-size DSLR mounted with the Bolan micro. Oh, it's come with me in follow mode. So yeah, so this is the T3i on a gimbal. So you notice some drop off and some slight fuzziness. Ooh. Oh, that's as much as I can do with the viewfinder. So yes, mounted on the gimballed crane with a new ear kind of fig rig, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's very muddy out, but I thought I'd have a go. So this is pretty well stabilised. If you've ever seen me do a handheld run and gun like last week with the little overhead handle, you'll notice that this is a lot smoother. And it's currently in follow mode. So as I tilt down, the camera tilts down, and when I tilt up, the camera tilts slowly up and corrects for my movements. So yeah, so I think this is just the standard gimballed crane. So it's a little bit old now. Now they've got the Mark II and the Plus and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting piece of kit, especially with the two side handles. And I haven't brought out the other camera, so you'll just have to bear with me. This is only going to be a short video. It's very muddy. It has been raining a lot over the weekend, so I'm hoping I'm getting good voice. This is the Boya microphone that I've got put round the wrong way, essentially. So I'm not using a lavalier. So hopefully you can hear me clearly enough to understand I've got a bit of a cold. It could be the coronavirus. So yeah. So let's just get this frame. So that little stream there, which is normally pretty placid, is pretty busy. For those of you camera heads out there, I've got this set up, and the downside of this is that I haven't put Magic Lantern on this particular card, and Magic Lantern is a very cool piece of software that sits on some Canon DSLRs, and the EOS M mirrorless that I've got. It allows you to do all sorts of stuff, including continuous video recording, because for some reason in Europe, and only Europe, there's a law against DSLR cameras and sort of, image cameras, stills cameras, being able to record video for more than a certain amount of time. So they make that pretty unreliable, which is why cine cameras are good. Don't have any of that. So let's have a look at the river. Yeah. Global warming obviously isn't a thing. So yeah. So I'm out for a wander using this, if I can frame it nicely. Obviously I need some practice moving with this, but I thought it'd be interesting to shoot some stuff on the gimbal. And for those eagle-eyed of you will notice that the last video I did wasn't even really a video. It was an ident for the culture, which is coming soon, and hopefully the first bits of culture media, including the trailer, are going to be coming out soon. Because I want to get people to visit it. I want those views. I want to round up the shaman people, you know, the medicine people of planet Earth. And I think that's a genetic click, a quirk. The people that invent stuff, whether you want them to or not. The people that sit at home and goes, oh, this looks like this. The artists, the musicians, you know, the people that are normally on their own and sitting there going, well, this shit could be better. And that's kind of the theme of the culture. Plan one, actually have worthwhile content so we can step away from the society of the spectacle, which is what it's become. People are voting for who they think will be funniest as a world leader. They must be. People are voting for people that like they vote on reality game shows. And we just can't have that. You know, stage 2, once we've got a whole bunch of those people, figure out what we're going to do, you know, and how we can do it. Because 1 million people can do a hell of a lot of stuff. You know, if Extinction Rebellion had taken all the money they spent getting thousands of people to London and started building a property empire, or bought some land and created a green village for people to go look at, you know, did some YouTube adverts saying, look, the planet's screwed, we've done some demonstrations, but now we need to show you some practical stuff, you know, planetary triage. And I get it, the world needs saving. Yesterday, oh, hey, nearly fell over then, which would have sucked. So yeah, it's all very weird. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to turn it around to me because there's a selfie mode. So yeah, so it is stabilised and I am on fantastically uneven ground. So yeah, you should be able to see me relatively in focus. If I've got autofocus on, yep. Image stabilization should work. So yeah, so this is the kind of selfie mode of the Zhiyun crane, and yeah, looks pretty similar. Hopefully the audio is recording nicely. This is kind of what I bought the Boya microphone for, the MM1. It's only about 20 quid, and yeah, but it is exhausting. It's like a workout. You're locking your arms and you're trying to shoot selfie footage and look into the lens. Look into the lens. There is a hole in the universe like this, and you will stare into it like a bit of devastation. Yeah, or to something of that effect. So yeah, but this is really, really uncomfortable to hold and do for, you know, 10 minutes at a time. So yeah, so hopefully this is nicely stabilised footage and I'm in focus. Hopefully I'm in focus. It's yeah, I think so. It's hard to see on the little screen with all the fingerprints on it. But yeah, clean your camera. So let's stop that there. And oh yeah. So as it stands at the moment, I don't know whether this is all in reasonable levels of focus. Got a long focal length. I've tried to use the autofocus to settle in, but yeah, it's easier to hold without having to look at the camera, mostly because if you're doing it in selfie mode and you've got a big old DSLR, you've got to hold it like half a metre away from you so you can get that focal length. So yeah. So the Boya crane doesn't the Zhiyun crane doesn't come with the two little side handles. But yeah, it's pretty good stabilisation. I mean, I can move it really around. It should be shaking. It should be making you all seasick at this point. But the the gimbal's correcting for it. Now I don't think I'll be using the gimbal for these videos all the time, but it certainly does open up some filmmaking opportunities. So yeah, and the follow mode's pretty good, but you do have to correct. So if I do this, the camera is trying to correct. I'm wibbling it from side to side, and you can get some of it. But yeah, it'll keep it stable enough. Put it back into follow mode. Move it round. So it only has 3 modes. You know, steady, follow, and the triple tap, which is the selfie button. And I'm sure the later ones do the same thing. It has got Bluetooth capability, so you can set it up on a stand and move it round, or you can set it up somewhere, even if it's in a shaky environment, and move it as you see fit. But it seems a little pointless. Yeah, and you can't really connect the camera to it, although I haven't tried, and I didn't get a manual with it, so, and all the videos seem to be on the Crane 2 or the Crane Plus. So yeah. So would I buy one? No, I did. So I managed to get it for 100 quid. The Zhiyun cranes without the 2 side handles are a little, you know, that would have cost me about 200 quid to put together. So yeah, that was another bargain, like the EOS M, which also fits on here, but the EOS M is super heavy. So if you try and put it on there, on the gimbal, with where was I? If you try and put it on the gimbal with anything other than a very small lens, you can't stabilize it, because the EOS M is heavier than the T3i, because it's got a metal body and all the stuff's packed into it, because the EOS M was supposed to be a flagship camera. Lots of things wrong with it, which they've corrected, and now Canon is pretty much king of the hill. I think with the EOS R5, which is their latest camera, that's like 1,500 quid. We don't do that. We're not going to do it. So yeah, I mean, I've pretty much spent projected Patreon money for the rest of the year. It's not going to stop me buying the odd bit of camera equipment, but I thought this would be interesting. So I'm literally out here with about a total, so we're talking stabilized gimbal, reasonably good microphone, and a Canon T3i with a kit lens, and we're not really doing half of what it could do, purely because of the card that's in here, and it doesn't have Magic Lantern. And I love the fact that Canon didn't try and sue the people at Magic Lantern, because, you know, just for the fact that they produced an alternative firmware that lets you do loads of stuff. So yeah, so probably about 250 quid all in if you're prepared to buy everything second hand. Hard to get these Boya microphones second hand, because they're from a microphone perspective really cheap, a bit like the Purple Panda. Punches way above its weight as far as sound quality goes, and I thought it would be easier, but it is like an upper arm workout. I mean, I don't know how long we've been recording, only about 15 minutes, but yeah, I don't think you'd want to hold it and run around with it for half an hour at a time without taking a break. So yeah, we are holding like a steel gimbal, a DSLR, the battery, you know, all the combined weight of stuff. So yeah, I think for this run and gun type stuff, your best bet is either a 50mm lens, but that would mean that your focal depth would be tiny. It would mean that the actual distance away from you in focus would be, I don't know, something ridiculous. It's probably about 6 inches. So 6 inches of this frame would be in focus. So I've got a focal, the f-stop of 5.6, which is quite a long f-stop. Gives you a lot, but it also makes stuff far away a bit blurry. Sort of like, you know, your eyes when you're focusing on stuff. But the camera corrects for itself a lot slower. So whenever you see a lens and you've got an f number, like f1.4 or f3.5, that's how short a focal distance it can give. So you can take a picture of a person and get a blurry background, like the photos at school. And then you've got your millimeter, which is the sort of like the size of the lens, how much magnification you're getting. And 50mm is about the same as your eye, or it would be on a full frame sensor. On a crop frame sensor like this, it's probably more like 75mm, like slightly better than your eyes. So yeah, as far as focus goes, not as far as, you know, autofocus and snapping to a focal point like your eyes can do thousands of times a second. Because your eyes use electrons, and that's essentially the speed of light. But this has been interesting. It's been quite good for run and gun. There's a lot of correction, I'm sure. There'll be times when we can shoot things purely using this as opposed to a tripod. DSLRs like to be on tripods. They like a fixed frame, they don't like to have to correct. But yeah, to get a sort of like a reasonable level of kind of like handheld, I think this was a pretty good investment. And it'll run all day. I think it'll run better with the T3i because it's a much lighter camera. You can balance the EOS M on it, but it's a faff, and you're limited in your choice of lenses. So yeah. So, I'm kind of filling the frame here. This is the downside. If someone was prepared to walk backwards up this hill with all the steps on it. So, thanks for watching. Do take care. Where am I going? Who's coming with me? And never get the order mixed up. Take care.